An ancient stone tablet locked away deep in a highly guarded vault could be the answer to discovering the Seven's past and what the massive vault laying under the Chapter 1 island really was. If you're like me and you're searching for answers, you've come to the right place, because what we learned from this ancient relic could change everything. Consider using code TLL the Reaper in the item shop, and without further ado, let's uncover the mysteries of the past. Since the launch of Last Resort, everyone has been fascinated with Cato Thorne's time machine and his collection that he keeps locked away behind vaults. But while the majority has seemingly been more focused on the fact that Midas's hand was cut off, others have been looking past that to the other more mysterious items he holds. An old stone tablet found in the Eclipse Estate's vault sits at the very end of his glass hallway. At first glance, it doesn't look like more than some random carvings, but the more you look at it, the more it begins to become more apparent to what this is truly showing us. This is a carving of none other than the vault. It's been years since we last saw this thing, so I'll give you all a quick rundown. In Chapter 1, the government, which we now know as the IO, begun digging up the island in search of something. We didn't know what it was until they struck metal north of Loot Lake. Knowing they were close, they dug up the entirety of the lake, only to reveal there was a gigantic metal vault underneath. It was otherworldly and alien-like. It had 5 slots evenly spread around it, and it wasn't long before we knew what these were for. A floating, indestructible key appeared near Paradise Palms, with a hologram projecting a symbol above it. When everyone collectively pickaxed it enough times, it moved a little bit forward. Players all around the world continued to hit this object until it eventually made its way all the way across the island and over to the vault. Then it made a large sound and the vault key dropped directly into its place, powering up the first vault generator, for lack of a better word. After this one, the final 4 keys began to appear across the island. These keys all had strange force fields around them and required loopers to do various tasks to activate them, such as emoting, feeding items into the volcano, and aligning lasers across the island. Eventually, they all slid into the vault and it was completely powered up. When the unvaulting event began, all of the keys turned on one by one and the middle hatch opened up, allowing us to jump inside to a place that bears strong resemblance to somewhere we were at before, the in-between, a realm only accessible inside of the 0 point. It's always been a mystery about what this vault is, how it was made, and where exactly the inside of it was, but we'll get more into that soon. Now that you're familiar with the vault, let's go back to the stone tablet. You can see that the entire carving clearly resembles the vault, with the giant hatch in the middle, but that's not all this strange artifact shows. It also has 5 symbols scattered around it, and little people floating around what looks to be a crown. I'm here to tell you that this artifact right here is the key to finding out what the vault was and unlocking the secrets to the Seven's past. The first key to this puzzle are the symbols around the artifact. Many have discovered that these are actually the Seven's very own symbols, but we have a problem. There's only 5. The 7 is a group of 7. When lining up the symbols, we find that the Foundation, the Origin, the Visitor, the Scientist, and the Paradigm are all present, leaving the Sisters out of the equation. This actually gives us insight into when this was made. Whenever it was carved, we know that there were only 5 members of the 7, so this was very early on in the team's days, before the Sisters joined the team. But this isn't some modern art piece. These are carvings on a stone tablet. Clearly this was made a long time ago, and once again, there's only 5 here. So what does this mean exactly about the team we see depicted on this tablet? Well, I believe we're actually looking at proof that there was an ancient version of the 7 before the team we have now. Think about it. All of their names don't even really relate to the characters. Take the Origin, for example. What is his name supposed to mean? Everyone in-game calls him by this, so we can't use him being the origin of the Fortnite storyline or the last reality as an explanation. That'd break the 4th wall. Plus, in the Resistant quests, he says,
"They call me the Origin, the Seven's field general and tactician."
As if it's a title or a role that he earned within the team. That means that each one of the current 7 didn't just make up their names. These are all roles passed down from generations of this team, which was originally a team of 5. The Origin could have a completely secret meaning, relating all the way back to who the first ever Origin was. Same with the Paradigm, which means a typical example or pattern of something. The original Paradigm also must have had this name for a specific reason. The Visitor is a bit tricky, since he was the first ever member of our current 7, but we know they changed his set name to the 7 6 seasons later during Season X. So obviously they came up with the idea for him to be a part of a team much later, which explains why his name seemingly only applies to him. The Scientist is obviously a role that's been for every member of this generational team that handles science. And finally, the Foundation. We know that Dwayne Johnson, aka The Rock, plays him in the storyline. So having the name Foundation makes sense to be a funny little tease to that, but there's more to it. The Foundation is the leader of the Seven, the foundation of the group. His backbling, Foundation's mantle, has a description that says, worn through the ages by the Seven's intrepid leader. This mantle seems to me like it's a symbolic piece to be worn by each leader, and for our Foundation, he's wearing it as the leader of the Seven. Remember, the ancient carvings depicted only 5 of the 7. Why else would they do this if not to show us that there was a team previously with less members? This mantle was likely worn by the first ever Foundation, leading their team of 5. Now it's worn by the newest Foundation as the leader of the 7, not the 5. Another huge point I want to make towards this theory of an ancient team predating the 7 is the fact that specifically the 2 members that are not present are the sisters. We know that Geno is their father and that eventually they grew up to join the 7, but their names are entirely based off of the faction their dad founded, the Imagined Order. They don't have any mysterious names like the rest of the team, because there wasn't any role or title in the group for them to have. The original 5 were already taken, because it has never been more than that. So now that we've covered how this stone tablet could possibly be revealing to us an ancient version of the 7, we have yet another question. Why is this ancient team surrounding the vault in the first place? Also, I'm gonna reference this ancient 7 team as the 5 for the rest of the video. Keeps me from constantly saying ancient 7 team. Anyways, seeing as to how the 5 are surrounding the vault, we can assume this is showing their related to the creation of it. The vault is a structure of immense power, protecting the nexus of all realities, the 0 point, from multiversal threats. Someone with the 0 point's best interest in mind must have been responsible for its creation, or a group. Coincidentally, there are 5 keys to the vault, 1 for each member of the 5. It's possible that each of these ancient members, the Paradigm, the Visitor, the Foundation, the Scientist, and the Origin, all were in control of a single key each, so they could keep the 0 point safely tucked away in the vault. How they built this, I'm not entirely sure, but for a structure of such grand size, I'd assume they somehow utilized the 0 point to build it, especially given the strange force fields the keys have. It all seems like it's full of mysterious energy. So we've established some crazy things. These carvings depict an ancient version of the 7, likely involved in the creation of the vault itself. And since it's so old, we can assume it's from the same time period that these 7 members were around. But that's not the only mystery to solve about this piece. When looking at this stone tablet in higher detail, we can see that there's 5 individual columns of glyphs that all connect to the vault. Some of the symbols are actually cube glyphs, aka the ones that were left behind by Kevin in Chapter 1, Season 6. Maybe this could be a hint towards the vault having some sort of connection to the cubes, or even the 0 point itself, but I don't really know where to take that information past that, so we'll have to wait and see. Aside from the glyphs, there's also 13 figures scattered across the vault. Timeless Order pointed out to me recently that this actually coincides with the Mayan calendar. It's a 260-day calendar made up of 20 periods of 13 days each, and believe it or not, this artifact is actually called Looper Calendar in the files. As strange as that sounds, this could possibly be showing us some sort of ancient way people use the vault to tell time, but once again, we don't have enough information to form any good theories regarding that file name just yet. The last interesting thing to note is how this artifact is seriously damaged. A giant crack goes right down the stone and splits the vault into 2 pieces. Without Fortnite loves to tease things, this could possibly be an event we see in the future, the vault being cracked in half and unleashing the in-between it guards below. While much of this artifact is still a mystery, it seems like it's been able to help us solve 2 of the biggest mysteries to date: what the past of the 7 looked like and how the vault came to be. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, consider using code TLL the Reaper in the item shop, or just subscribing to the channel to support these videos. Thank you all so much for watching. Until next time, keep it reaping.